Barbara Jane Mackle is freed, her abductors sought. President-elect names career diplomat Charles Yost to be U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Green light given for Apollo 8 blastoff tomorrow morning. Network executives question sharply at Violence Commission hearings. And a report on the upcoming Julie Nixon-David Eisenhower wedding. Now, here is Frank Reynolds.
Good evening. The kidnappers of Barbara Mackle have released her unharmed after ransom of $500,000 was paid. And the FBI is searching for two persons it accuses of the kidnapping. Ken Taylor of WLBW-TV Miami has the story. I'm sorry, we're apparently unable to make contact with Miami at this point, but we can tell you the good facts about the story. The ransom was paid early today after the failure of an attempt to transfer the money yesterday. Barbara's father, Robert, is a millionaire businessman who lives in Gables, Florida. The FBI obtained warrants today for the arrest of two persons it alleges are responsible for the crime. One is 23-year-old Gary Christ, who is an ex-convict, and 26-year-old Ruth Eisman Shear, a biology researcher. Both are said to be associated with the University of Miami Institute of Marine Sciences. News of the release of the Mackle girl came from a source close to the investigation. There have been no details as to just where she is, but it is expected that an announcement will be made soon from the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. We'll have more news in a moment.
Take those same lines again, but this time give her a kiss before your exit.
If he kissed you once, will he kiss you again? You can be certain
with Certs, the delicious
candy mint that stops bad breath.
Certs? It's a delicious candy mint.
It's a perfect breath mint, too.
Certs is two mints in one. Certs contains a sparkling drop of Retsin, the miracle breath purifier that stops bad breath. With Certs, if he kissed you once, he'll kiss you again. You can be certain with Certs. Certs in assorted delicious flavors.
Who wants some gum? When you chew Trident sugarless gum. Trident, for families who really care about their teeth. 4 out of 5 dentists surveyed recommend sugarless gum for their patients who chew gum. Of America's best tasting gums, Trident is sugarless. Ask your dentist about Trident.
President-elect Nixon today announced the selection of Charles W. Yost, a career diplomat and a Democrat, to be the new United States ambassador to the United Nations. Right up to the minute that Mr. Nixon made the announcement, most people thought the job would go to Sergeant Shriver. And Yost was not even recognized by some reporters as he entered the room with the president-elect. Mr. Nixon confirmed that the UN post had been discussed with Shriver and with Vice President Humphrey and Senator Eugene McCarthy, but he insisted none had been offered the job. The president-elect said this about Yost.
He is a man who will bring to this post a very great skill in terms of representing the United States in the debating forum, which the UN is generally known for, but also will bring that ability to conduct the day-to-day activities of the UN mission in the less exciting from the standpoint of being newsworthy, but in perhaps the long run, more important activities, which are non-political in character, in which 75% of the UN funds, for example, are directed to economic and developmental activities, and also in the peacekeeping area. The peacekeeping areas in strengthening the UN's peacekeeping machinery, particularly as it deals with third world problems.
Ambassador Yost was then questioned about the UN's #1 trouble spot, the Middle East.
Well, I've always believed that we should maintain the closest and most friendly relations possible with all the nations out there. I've served in some of the Arab nations. I have many friends there. I have many friends in Israel. And I would hope that we would endeavor to work on a basis of friendship with both of them. I don't think we can serve much of a purpose we can be very effective in helping to bring this problem to a settlement unless we do show friendship for all concerned.
Sergeant Shriver, an in-law of the Kennedys, was strongly prompted to take the UN post. He would have been far more of a showcase Democrat for the new administration than Yost. However, it was finally mutually agreed that Shriver, instead of moving to the limelight of the UN, will remain as ambassador to France. Tom Jarwell, ABC News, with the president-elect in New York.
Ambassador Yost will assume his new job with more UN experience than any previous American envoy. He took part in the founding conference of the United Nations in San Francisco in 1945 and later served under Adlai Stevenson and Arthur Goldberg. Guest commentator Bill Moyers, a former White House news secretary, has this to say about the appointment of Ambassador Yost.
For the first time since the United Nations was organized more than 20 years ago, the chief American representative to the world body is going to be a career professional diplomat. Those who know Mr. Charles Yost describe him in tried and true terms: competent, reliable, experienced. He was deputy U.S. ambassador at the UN under Adlai Stevenson and knows his way around the maze of politics and protocol, which make this a very difficult assignment. But for all his experience and knowledge as a professional diplomat, Mr. Yost's appointment is a sharp departure from the past. He is not a political figure in his own right, as was Henry Cabot Lodge. He's not a luminary with a national reputation, as was Arthur Goldberg, who came to New York directly from the Supreme Court. And he's not a world figure, as was Adlai Stevenson. Richard Nixon could have selected a man of that breed, someone like Sergeant Shriver, whose name is well known here and abroad, or a Democrat of the stature of Eugene McCarthy. But Mr. Nixon was not disposed to put at the United Nations a man with an independent political base, or a man from whom the press and the public might expect more than he realistically could deliver. Mr. Nixon chose instead a talented but little-known professional, a man who has no independent political following, and who can be expected to perform the assignment more in the tradition of standard diplomacy. There is some merit to this. The powerful personalities who preceded Mr. Yost were all frustrated men. They were expected to carry out policy when they really expected to make it. And their high visibility caused them to squirm when it was apparent to their friends in the public that they had more glamour than power. Mr. Yost will enter the UN with no illusions of his own grandeur. In the long run, this kind of appointment was inevitable. It could even herald a more effective and pragmatic relationship between the United States and the United Nations. This is Bill Moyers.
Apollo 8 is go for tomorrow. That story in a moment.
Phyllis, it's Mother, just calling to make sure you don't get me any gifts. What could I need? You have your family, you need your money. Even if you see a Rolf's double-duty envelope. You know, the one with removable checkbook card case. You can't miss it. It has 16 windows for credit cards and pictures of your beloved family. A thumb slot pocket so you can get at your favorite credit cards easily. A snap-happy adjustable closure, an outside coin pocket, a zipper bill holder. But I don't really need it. And you have so many needs, dear. Or, if you see the Rolf's telescopic cigarette case, don't get it. Think of yourself first. I always have. Even if the telescopic fits all brands and telescopes to hold my Super Kings and comes in all sorts of colors, especially yellow. Think of yourself, Phyllis.
Rolf's, quality leather accessories. Perfect gifts for everyone, even reluctant receivers.
The space agency has given the go-ahead for tomorrow's launching of the Apollo 8 on its flight around the moon, but there had been some doubt whether the launch would take place as scheduled because of a problem that developed during the night. Small amounts of nitrogen had seeped into the oxygen tanks that are a vital element of the fuel cells, but the space agency says the contaminated oxygen has been removed and a fresh supply has been piped aboard. ABC science editor Jules Bergman reports on tomorrow's flight from Cape Kennedy.
It'll begin here at 4 a.m. when the three astronauts ride up the elevator alongside the Saturn V, 440 feet above the Cape, and get into their Apollo 8 spacecraft. It's the first manned flight atop the Saturn V moon rocket, the world's biggest, which has had one full success and one partial failure in its two tests. Engineers and the astronauts, Air Force Colonel Frank Borman, the spacecraft commander, Navy Captain Jim Lovell, the navigator, and Major Bill Anders, systems engineer, are convinced that the Saturn V's problems have been solved. The Saturn V's enormous power, equal to 400 jet fighters, will shake the Launch Control Center of the Cape and half of Florida at liftoff. 11.5 minutes after liftoff, far out over the Atlantic, Apollo 8 will go into orbit 115 miles over the Earth. Over Australia, on the second revolution of the Earth, the crucial translunar burn begins. The third stage S-4B rocket is due to fire again, speeding Apollo 8 to an escape velocity of 25,000 miles an hour, fast enough to overcome the gravitational pull of the Earth. For the first time, men will have truly left the Earth behind. The moon will be to their right as they navigate by the stars, aiming themselves toward a rendezvous 69 hours after liftoff. They'll reach the moon early December 24th, and behind it do a braking maneuver with the engine. They'll burn the engine nearly 5 minutes, a tremendous burst of power, consuming more than 5 tons of fuel that'll slow them down to 3,700 miles an hour. As they slow down, the moon's gravity will capture them. After 2 revolutions, another small burn, and they'll be in a circular orbit 69 miles over the moon. For 20 hours, they'll swing around the moon, filming it and turning on their live TV camera to show what they see to the entire world. With navigation and mapping experiments, they'll pin down where things are on the moon and answer the riddles about its gravity. Late Christmas Eve, more live TV from the moon. Then, early Christmas Day, the critical rocket engine burn to get them back to Earth. Their engine must work, or Borman, Lovell, and Anders will be trapped forever in lunar orbit and die of oxygen starvation. It's the biggest single risk in the flight, but the Apollo engine has functioned flawlessly on 3 flights and hundreds of tests. Still, if anything goes wrong, they're 3 days and 250,000 miles away from Earth, beyond any help.
The return to Earth will take 58 hours. After a tricky re-entry at 25,000 miles an hour,
they'll sweep in over India and land in the Pacific 1,000 miles south of Hawaii in total darkness, a half an hour before sunrise, then wait it out in the spacecraft until they can be recovered. Borman, Lovell, and Anders, and all of us on Earth via their live TV, will see both the Earth and the moon as no men have ever seen them before. They'll blaze the trail across space for men to land on the moon in future flights. Both the risks and the rewards are high. After 7 years and $25 billion, Apollo is ready to begin tackling the moon. But some experts charge we're not ready, that another Saturn V flight sending an unmanned Apollo spacecraft around the moon is needed. The space agency is staking its reputation and future on this flight. Borman, Lovell, and Anders feel the time is now. But Frank Borman adds, this is 5 or 6 times more dangerous than any Earth orbit Gemini flight. All lunar flights will be. A new era is opening in manned space flight, and tomorrow we'll find out what the dangers really are and how soon men can land on the moon. This is Jules Bergman, ABC at Pad 39, Cape Kennedy.
ABC will televise the highlights of the flight, beginning with live coverage of the launch at 7 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. 11 American servicemen freed by Prince Sihanouk after 5 months of captivity in Cambodia are on their way back to the United States tonight. The 12th American released was unable to make the trip because of injuries received when his helicopter was shot down last month. Today they flew from Cambodia to Bangkok in Thailand. That's Sergeant Lee Henry of Oakland, California, making the V for Victory sign. They underwent processing and were given inoculations, $200 in back pay, and some Christmas presents. This afternoon, the men flew on to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. As for the 82 crewmen of the Pueblo, 2 newspapers in Seoul reported today that the men will be freed by North Korea on Monday if all goes well. And despite the political implications, it appears likely that American representatives will meet with the Viet Cong on Christmas Day to arrange the release of 3 captive American enlisted men. In Vietnam, the United States Command disclosed that American fighter bombers hit targets in the north yesterday for the 4th time since the bombing halt on November 1st. An enemy anti-aircraft battery 45 miles above the demilitarized zone opened fire on an unarmed American reconnaissance plane. The plane's armed escorts attacked the enemy guns. The results are unknown because of heavy smoke, but none of the American planes was hit. In Paris today, North Vietnam's top delegate, Lee Duc-Tho, said the United States must get rid of President Thieu and Vice President Ky of South Vietnam if the peace talks are to go anywhere. Tho said, peace in Vietnam is not possible until the present Saigon administration has been replaced by a peace government. The United States must change these people, create favorable conditions for the negotiations. Ambassador Averell Harriman and his chief deputy, Cyrus Vance, met with Vice President Ky today, apparently to try to smooth over differences between the allies. A French newspaper today quoted Ky as saying he would personally ask American forces to leave South Vietnam if the United States would accept a war solution, which in Ky's words would make us the slaves of the communists. Pope Paul expressed distress today over the plight of the world. In his annual Christmas message, the Pope depicted a world oppressed by dictators and poverty, humanity imperiled by the destructive powers of science, and a society that is dissatisfied with much of what it has. In an apparent reference to student disorders and indirectly to recent challenges to his own authority, the Pope deplored what he called rebellion, violence, and anarchy. In a moment, a few sparks at a Washington hearing on television and violence.
It's open. Ah, genius at work.
Almost finished. As soon as I figure out what to do with the extra parts.
That looks okay to me. Cigarette?
Raleigh filters. That's my cigarette.
Well, I tried yours last week, and they tasted better than mine.
Well, they're sure mild enough.
Say, do you save the coupons?
Well, Lois got this stroller with him.
Come to Raleigh Filters. Come to good taste. And remember, Dreamus Raleigh coupons also come on light menthol Bel Air.
Bel Air tastes like 'cause the menthol's right. Bel Air tastes like 'cause the menthol's right. Just the right touch of menthol with a white filter too.
You get a special kind of lightness when you smoke Bel Air. Special because the menthol's right.
In Washington today, the President's Commission on the Causes of Violence wound up 3 days of hearings on the influence of the mass media on violence in the United States. Today's witnesses were the top executives of the 3 major networks, and commission members pulled no punches. ABC's Sam Jaffe reports.
Leonard Goldenson, president of ABC, said that violence has dropped off on television and added that 29 of 30 new TV programs being developed are in the non-adventure field. But members of the commission presented figures that showed the contrary. Mr. Goldenson defended his position.
That is not based on any information that I have, because I have talked to the head of our network and our programming people, and their statement to me that it has been corrected and that there has been a diminution of this type of programming.
According to the Christian Science Monitor and according to Better Radio and Television, your reply is totally inadequate and inaccurate, and according to them, untrue. Well, now I got some research conducted for this commission by Mass Media Survey, a very responsible organization. Most Americans adults think that TV portrays a violence that has some effect. Most think that it's likely or possible that TV portrayal of violence have a negative effect upon the other persons by making them insensitive to real acts of violence, triggering acts of violence from the maladjusted, contributing to make America a violent society.
Well, I merely wanted to reply that for the reasons that you have stated, and for the reasons that members of the commission have stated, and because I don't think there has been any conclusive evidence adduced from all of the research that has been available so far, that we as a company are prepared, as I stated at the beginning, to support any research objectively that can be done scientifically, that this commission might come to a conclusion is a sound form of research.
The next witness to draw the commission's fire was Dr. Frank Stanton, president of CBS.
Well, now, why is television effective in reaching people in advertising and in political campaigns, and it's not effective when it shows sadism, masochism, murder, mayhem, and rape?
I didn't say it wasn't. I said...
What do you say?
I said at this particular point in time, we simply do not know.
Well, you've been studying it now since 1954.
We will finance the research.
Well, now when? You financed one in 61.
We're talking two entirely different studies, and I simply have to make the record clear on that. Don't confuse a public opinion study with the kind of study I'm talking about.
Oh, this is a new study.
What is a new study?
I mean the one you're proposing now.
I'm not proposing a study now. And the reason I'm not proposing a study now is I wouldn't know how to spend $1 million for it, or $10 million for it, because we don't have the methodology. And if you'll tell me how to do it, I'll make a commitment to you right now. I'll go out and do it.
The president of NBC defended television's right to report the news. He said grave doubts have been raised by the commission's investigation of network coverage of the Chicago demonstrations. This is Sam Jaffe, ABC News, Washington.
The medical report on President Johnson today says he is resting comfortably at the Bethesda Naval Hospital outside Washington, where he's recuperating from the flu. On the New York Stock Exchange today, Dow Jones Industrials were down more than 8 points. Nearly 16 million shares were traded. The New York Stock Exchange Index was down 28 cents. On the American Stock Exchange, more than 9.5 million shares were traded. The American Exchange Index was up 6 cents. In a moment, a look at another kind of Eisenhower-Nixon administration.
Does your mouth ever taste dry and dusty? Or like an entire army was marching through it? Does your breath come on strong? Well, try Micron. Micron's foaming antiseptic action strips away stale film, foams out impurities from between your teeth. Your mouth feels so clean and fresh, that funny taste is gone. Odor's gone, too. Micron for clean mouth, clean breath.
You know, it wasn't until I had a baby that I found the best shampoo for my own hair. Johnson's baby shampoo. Know what I discovered? The baby-like softness born in my hair. The silkiness, the shine. Johnson's baby shampoo makes gentle, no more tears lather. Leaves your hair so manageable, bright and softly alive. Baby your hair with Johnson's baby shampoo. Don't wait to have a baby to try it.
Chanel number 5 is my idea of a woman. Chanel number 5 tells her all the things she is, as no other fragrance can. Give her Chanel number 5 perfume and cologne in the classic bottle, or in the modern spray. No wonder every woman alive wants Chanel number 5. And now for men.
Chanel is my idea of a man. Rousing, compelling. Give him Chanel for men. A gentleman's cologne and aftershave. I love Chanel for men.
Sunday is the big day for Julie Nixon and David Eisenhower. The daughter of the president-elect and the grandson of President Eisenhower will be married at the Marble Collegiate Church in New York City. ABC's Marlene Sanders tells the story of the Nixon-Eisenhower romance.
Julie and David's courtship began here on the Smith College campus. They had met as children at the White House, but fell in love as young adults at college. David became a regular visitor from nearby Amherst. Julie was asked whether one can say it was a long courtship.
I don't think you really can, because we only met each other twice when we were little. And he looked me up when I came up to Smith. He and his roommate came over to look me over, I think. And we liked each other from the beginning. And since then we started going out.
They soon joined the rest of the Nixon family in an arduous summer of campaigning, crisscrossing the country in search of votes. Each has a winning, unaffected manner, and their presence was an asset to the candidate. The pressure and strain of those days could have created problems between them, but the man who will perform their marriage ceremony, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, doesn't think their relationship was harmed by the strenuous campaigning.
Well, I don't see why it should if they're really in love with one another. I think that the more they'd be together, the happier they'd be. And, no, I think that's just a normal thing. Well, it wasn't exactly normal because everybody doesn't campaign together, but they were in an exciting enterprise together.
If you could wish Julie and David one thing on their wedding day, what would it be?
Well, I'd just tell them to go out and love each other, have a good time, and work hard and look to the future and build up their life together. And it's very exciting to do that.
Alden Clark will be at the organ when Julie and David march down the aisle. They've rejected the traditional wedding march by Mendelssohn in favor of Purcell's Trumpet Voluntary. And so on Sunday at the Marble Collegiate Church on the corner of 5th Avenue and 29th Street, the younger daughter of a president-elect marries the grandson of a president. This is Marlene Sanders, ABC News, New York.
And that's tonight's news. I'm Frank Reynolds. Good night.
Sore throat pain is no fun, and neither is gargling. That's why 25 million men, women, and children use Sucrets for minor sore throat pain. Unlike gargling, Sucrets medication gets all the way down your throat. For temporary relief of minor sore throat pain, Sucrets antiseptic throat lozenges for children and adults, recommended by many doctors. Now, something new from Sucrets. Blink. Adjust. Scratch. Cough. Your control center tells you what to do, like cough when you have a cold. But it doesn't tell you how to keep from coughing, unless it knows about new Sucrets Cough Control Formula, the non-habit-forming lozenge that works at your control center. When the urge says, cough, cough, suppress it with new Cough Control Formula from Sucrets.
Special thanks this week to stations WLBW-TV, Miami, WQXI-TV, Atlanta, and WFTV, Orlando, for their help in preparing reports from their areas. Monday through Friday, in color, the ABC Evening News with Frank Reynolds. Frank Reynolds and ABC News science editor Jules Bergman will report on the historic launch of Apollo 8, man's first trip around the moon, beginning tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Watch a great movie with Richard Burton starring in The Robe. Watch The Robe tonight at 10:30 only on TV8. Come see us.